Hey, fucks. It's Sammy Warmhands. Here's my podcast.
Listen up, Gotham.
Testing. 1, 2, 3.
Hi, Buttons. It's me, Harley Quinn.
This is Batman.
This is Robin.
Tune into the Bat Fanatic podcast.
The Bat Fan Addict Podcast.
The Bat Fanatic Podcast.
The Bat Fanatic Podcast with Sammy Warmhands.
With Sammy Warmhands.
The Bat Fan Addict Podcast. Bat Fan Addict Podcast.
Although, Sam, you might think about changing the name.
Hey everybody, it's the Dark Knight of Rap, Sammy Warmhands, and this is the Bat Fanatic Podcast. That was my wife Ange on the intro. Shout out to Ange. She only needed one take. I had to do a few whenever I do these, to get it just right. But she came in as I was setting up the mic. I said, hey, give it a shot. So I'm going to have Gramps and Dunk in the house. As always, want to shout out our friend and sponsor, Nando, over at TNK Comics and Collectibles. You can follow on Shortboxed for some of his slabs for sale as shortboxed.com/TNK Comics, or on Instagram for claim sales at the Nando Night, as well as a look at his convention appearances. Now, today, I'm recording on New Year's Eve this intro as we dive back into Batman One Bad Day. This is The Penguin. We are doing, what is this, our third in the series, Batman One Bad Day, Penguin, 2022. I've never seen the credits laid out quite this way, but it says written by John Ridley, layouts and cover art by Giuseppe Camuncoli. I hope I get that right. I'm sorry. Finishes by Cam Smith. Very interesting. Colors by Arif Prianto and lettered by Rob Lee. So we have layouts and finishes and then colors. That's an interesting way to do it as opposed to pencils, inks, etc. Okay, I'll shut the fuck up.
Well, no, I mean...
No, I'll just fuck myself.
Well, again.
Sounds like a personal problem.
But
I usually wait till we finish recording. I turn off the webcam.
Going back to our review of the classic Batgirl of Burnside.
Your favorite that we've done so far.
Didn't we see where Cameron Stewart actually did some of the layouts?
Yes,
and then
we saw that in the back of the book, and
Babs Tarr did the finished artwork.
Yeah, we have been singing praises of Babs' clever page layouts, and not to take anything away, but yeah, we did overlook that in the back of the collected edition, Cameron did a lot of that hand in hand with the script.
I just had to mute Louis taking a drink of water.
It's like, man, these guys aren't replying to me at all today. I'm like, oh, he's doing what I asked.
We're just muting everything.
Yeah, don't mute your responses, though.
Just watch our lips move.
Yeah. So, we got a sorry-ass, broken-hearted, beat-down penguin starting off the book. That's kind of an interesting start, right?
Yeah, and also, have the other ones started like this where on the cover it's One Bad Day, Penguin #1, but then inside it says DC Comics presents Last Bullet. Do you remember, did the others have their own unique title?
That is pretty cool. I didn't even actually notice that.
Well, that stood out to me too. And I was like, wait a minute, what is it about this bullet that's going to be so important? And we'll get into that.
Yeah.
But now I want to look at the rest of these.
Like the U on it is the outline of a bullet too. I thought that was a cool first page.
The first thing that caught my eye, it looks like he's looking out over the river at Iceberg Lounge. Mm-hmm. But then on the back of the bench that he's sitting, it says, Killer Croc was here.
That's funny. I didn't see that before. Oh, look. And on the right, it's FM/LV, Frank Miller, Lynn Varley.
Right, exactly. Lots of little Easter eggs here.
Tim Sale, yeah.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. That's cool.
I mean, just page 1, we've already got some cool little Easter eggs and nods to classic Batman creators, artists, writers, colorists.
I lived in West New York, New Jersey, and there's actually a spot that I go to sometimes that has a bench like that, and you can see Manhattan from that bench.
Uh-huh.
So when I read that first line, if you sit by the river long enough, I just thought about like me sitting there when I was younger and like just hearing all the noise and the chaos across the river. Unlike him, I was happy I was on the quiet side.
Yeah, yeah. What is that spot in Brooklyn, like the promenade there that...
Isn't that by the Williamsburg Bridge?
Yeah.
That's like the famous touristy spot that everyone takes a photo, because if you go to this one spot inside the arches of the Williamsburg Bridge, you can see the Empire State Building. So everyone takes their photo right there.
I don't think we were actually on the bridge, but we had gone to Adam Yauch Park, MCA from the Beastie Boys. They dedicated a park when he passed away, and so we went to check that out, and I think it was pretty close to that whole area. But yeah, definitely evokes that in my memory.
A lot of great views.
All right, so Penguin, as we mentioned, sitting on the park bench looking disheveled, a stranger approaches and asks if he has the money. Penguin hands him $20 for a revolver. He says it's a piece of crap and there's no bullets. Guy said, hey, we never made a deal for bullets. Penguin points across the river and says he's going to Gotham. Guy tosses him a single bullet and says, then you should probably just use this on yourself.
Cold.
Yeah.
$20 for a gun?
Yeah, that was my thought
realistic?
Too. And then he complains about how shitty it was. I'm like, man, you got this for like, I'm guessing 90% off or something.
Yeah, that's a deal.
Obviously, it's stolen.
Armed with one single round, Penguin walks the streets of Gotham. It looks kind of like Year One or The Deuce in 70s New York, early 80s maybe. A working girl stops Penguin and he asks how old she is. We get the Jodie Foster taxi driver line, as old as you want me to be, or as young as you want me to be. I can't remember.
Mm-hmm.
He says, I'll be right back, and walks into the next building, which is apparently where he was headed. Inside, Max is his former head of security. They talk about how he was never appreciated and sold out the Penguin. By the way, it's Oswald. No one calls me that anymore.
Yeah, that was the one thing I noticed is like, he's always, well, I don't say always, but...
Well, it reminded me of Burton, where he goes back and forth.
Sometimes he wanted to be called Penguin, but then on this time he corrects the guy and he's like, no, it's Oswald.
Yeah. So he was sold out to the Umbrella Man for $25,000. And this immediately makes me skeptical because we're in the beginning of the book and it sounds like they're setting up a really dumb fucking villain. Oswald asks for whatever's left of the money, and we see a gun in the drawer. They both shoot, but Oz is faster, and now Max is dead. He takes Max's gun, and now he has 3 bullets and whatever cash was found in the drawer. Outside, Oz says that he used to have an empire, and he's going to rebuild it from the ground up. When the girl asks, well, what does it pay? He hands her $10. She takes 5 and runs off saying, you're crazy. Oz looks completely crestfallen to the extent that it's almost comical. I don't know how you guys read that, but I was like, what did you think was going to happen, man?
She just dipped. She could have grabbed $10 and walked away, but she was like, you know what? I'm not that big of an asshole. I'm going to just take $5.
Right. Like, this guy's fucking delusional.
And then we have the second sighting of the Batwing flying around, and Oswald is very aware of where that is.
Yes, it's cruised by in the skyline a couple times, and as we cut to Batman's perspective, he's overwhelmed with different calls on the police scanner. Forces himself just to pick one.
I love that page right there because obviously it's an homage nod to Dark Knight Returns where he's in the Bat tank rolling up on Mutant Leader. So obviously that's where the little nod FMLV on page 1 is for.
Oh, right. I was going to mention also, because we've talked about, you and I, the Charles Soule Darth Vader comic. Camuncoli was the artist on that. It's cool to see him working in DC. I'm not sure that I have read one of his DC titles before. So Batman picks a call, and very quickly he descends on a shootout, then moves right on to the next call. It's like a really cut in and out. We see him swoop down and then is just trying to put out as many fires as possible.
I like that first panel on this page because you see it from Batman's point of view coming down.
Yeah.
I don't remember ever seeing that in a book like that.
Yeah, you always get it from the villain's perspective of him falling out of the sky in the shadows.
Yeah, that's cool.
Lily Kwan is having tea at a cafe when Oz sits down at the table. She was his muscle, apparently, and they talked about how Umbrella Man, Jesus, was literally the guy who held his umbrella, but everyone liked him and was fed up with Penguin's greed. That made it all too easy for his allies to back down when Umbrella Man made his move. After some convincing and a gesture of goodwill, Oz pays her bill after admitting earlier he only had $5 to his name. So we see him spend the last of his money on her after we just saw him spend his last bullet on Max.
Now, she's the second person that's told him, you treat all of us like shit.
Yes.
Once you got what you want, you just used us and got rid of us.
And we're seeing some humility in him offering to pay his last $5 for her tea tab. And then we're going to see it again as the book carries on, that he's willing to bet everything time and time again. And that's the only way that he can rebuild his empire, is by rebuilding those relationships. Oz and Lily track down his former right-hand man, Frank, who wants nothing to do with him. Frank says he's pathetic and is about to have his goons step in when Lily busts out these fists the size of her entire head and beats everyone unconscious.
This reminds me of that Foo Fighters video, Forever Long.
Yes.
Where they get the big, huge hands and they're sweeping them back and forth, beating up the people.
Yeah.
That's all I could think about.
Out of nowhere. I was...
Because at the cafe, her hands are under the table. We never see them.
Yeah. She just walks out like with these damn, like, I don't know.
She's like Popeye or something.
If you compare this to the Riddler issue that started this series, this is like way more comic booky with Umbrella Man and Lily with the giant fists.
She just has was it the soccer boppers or whatever they were back in the day?
She got Hulk hands.
Yeah, she's just like, all right, let's go. Womp.
In the middle of this scene, we cut to Batman and Montoya. They speak of the escalating crime wave and how Batman hasn't had a night off in months. They can't seem to tie it to Umbrella Man, and I hate this fucking name, but Batman is determined, even if it means breaking the rules. Sitting at Frank's desk, surrounded by knocked-out goons, Oz tells her about being bullied as a kid. But his teachers just asked, "What's wrong with a little teasing?" He says the problem is, after long enough, you start to wish that everyone else would suffer just like you. And I like this scene. Again, we had some comic booky reveal and a little action sequence, but now we're getting into the real character stuff, because each one of these is really just a character study. We cut to his 7th birthday. His mom insists on throwing a party, and even though he thought no one would come, everyone from class showed up and was well behaved. But he found out later that his mom had paid them all to attend. Jesus Christ.
And that's a feeling. It's always difficult on your birthday when you never knew who was going to show up and you got like the 1 or 2 friends and whatever. That's all you really needed. But man, people dislike you that much. Your mom had to pay people to go to your birthday party.
Yeah.
That to me, yes, it's sad that a 7-year-old, his mom had to pay people to come to his party. But also I can see where that starts twisting his viewpoint of the world, saying, you know what, with money, I can get whatever I want. That's all it took for you to be nice to me.
And sing me happy birthday.
And sing me happy birthday.
It reminds me of the movie Funny People. It shows him jamming in a music room in his house. They finish the song and he's like, man, I wish you guys were really my friends and I didn't have to pay you to hang out and play with me. But he's like, can you guys go into overtime? Can we do this a little longer? And they're like, yeah, okay. So as Oz is telling this story about his childhood, one of the goons' nephews walks in. He was supposed to meet Frank about getting a job. They quickly establish that this guy is not a fighter, but Oz gets under his skin enough to see that he's not a pushover either. Oz gives him the gun with 3 bullets. Seems like they could have taken a lot more guns from all the mob guys that she just knocked out, but...
I was about to say.
He tells this guy Elliot, right? Is that his name?
Yeah, Elliot.
I didn't write it down. Yeah, when you hear Elliot, you start shooting. He's like, shooting who? He's like, anyone who's not us.
What a missed opportunity. The amount of guns you left just laying around, the amount of money, too. Because, like, all right, dude, you're a criminal. Run everyone's pockets.
Right. I can see why they don't do it because it's this underdog story and we're going to see what he can do with just his wits and no resources, right? But at the same time, it's like...
Yeah, we all play GTA. There's shortcuts to this.
So they go to get back his money from, quote unquote, the bank, which is Johan, the money launderer. Oz says, I gave you $250,000 for a rainy day, and this is a fucking rainy day. I want it back. Johan says that the past deals are off. The money is now controlled by the Umbrella Man. When Johan makes the order to kill them, Oz gives the signal, Elliot! But he's paralyzed with fear. After a couple failed attempts, Oz teases him until he freaks out again and starts shooting. Perhaps unsurprisingly, Elliot misses even at close range, but they're so freaked out by his outbursts, screaming, leave me alone, Timmy Quinn, that they surrender anyway. And I don't buy this for a fucking second.
I don't either.
No. Oz is like, oh yeah, he's crazy. He doesn't listen to me or anything. Like, you'd better watch out for him. And I think all Johan's guys would just laugh in this dude's face and shoot them on the spot.
Blow him away, yeah.
Nevertheless, Johan wires the money, and they all walk away unscathed. So after the big fists reveal, and then this, no daddy, don't touch me there kind of fucking outburst, I just like, I don't know, man. I don't know. In what looks like the Iceberg Lounge, Johan tells the Umbrella Man about Oz's plan to come after him. They obscure him from the panels at first, but a giant splash page on the right kind of gives away the first reveal.
And this is the saving grace of the book because this has the best quote I've ever read in any comic. It says, girl, why the hell you screaming? You get paid to grind. Grind.
Yeah. So let's, to back up just a little bit, Umbrella Man is furious that Johan gave away the money and shoots him on the spot. In an exchange that reminds me a bit of Black Mask in Birds of Prey, Umbrella Man scolds this blood-spattered stripper, like, what are you doing crying over there? You know, you get paid to dance. And so another goon suggests that Oz might be getting guns from Frida, and they should talk to her and her crew. Umbrella Man says, no, you're going to kill them or end up in a pile with Johan. So we get the impression that this guy is
an asshole.
He'll kill anybody, even his own partners, you know, where it's like, oh, we get our guns from Frida and he's going over it. Oh, well, just wipe him out. That's the solution.
Yeah. I mean, he's more muscle than brain power.
Yeah.
He's just going to flex his strength and scare and intimidate people.
We can contrast that with what Oz is having to do right now, which is kind of learn from that and mend these connections, because it's not just about the intimidation and the power.
Well, you see that Umbrella Man is making the same mistakes that Oswald did when he was the kingpin, you know.
Oz meets with Frida, and she is not eager to be used and abused again. He offers her the entire $250,000, placing a debit card on the counter, and she rejects it on sight. Dismayed, but perhaps unconvinced, he leaves the card, as well as a cell phone, and walks out. I kind of couldn't believe, I'm like, motherfucker, you just had $5 in your pocket. Now you have $250,000 and you're like,
on a debit card.
I guess I'll just leave it here and you think it over. I'm like, good God, man.
Going fully all in with everything, everything he got, even the bullet.
Yeah, every move is all in. While Oz laments the loss of his glory days outside, Lily shatters any illusion that he was beloved by the city. People wanted his money, his club, his access, but it was never about him. She said, this is worse than your 7th birthday because at least those kids would take your money. Like here, he's getting turned down for $250,000. Back at Frida's, we see the ambush from Umbrella Man's crew, and it is nothing short of an NPC massacre. You know, all of these guys, except for our main character, were just annihilated. Of course, Frida was in the other room, unharmed. And after seeing the carnage, she picks up that phone. Meeting with Oz, she says that he was right, and Umbrella Man only takes with force. In a surprising moment, almost unique to this specific penguin, he offers her a consolation hug. How out of character was that?
Obviously, he's playing a different game, but he's still Oswald Cobblepot.
Yeah.
I thought this was like so far out of character. I don't even know what to think at this point.
He's going to go back to being an asshole.
Yeah, but he's having a tender moment. Montoya calls Batman to the scene at Frida's place. He connects the dots between the attacks on both her and Johan, saying that Penguin is back for vengeance. Montoya says he doesn't stand a chance, and she's got a whole city to worry about. But Batman has other plans. When confronted by Batman, and I realize this is a one-shot, but he kind of cuts straight from that scene to immediately finding Penguin. That just kind of happens. We don't really see how. Oz reminds Batman that things were never this bad in the city before Umbrella Man was in charge. Oz said he played his part but kept things in balance to some extent. He says that Batman's ego keeps him from seeing that Batman isn't the only thing keeping order in the city. He's simply one piece of the bigger puzzle. Seemingly satisfied with that answer, Batman says, "The night is yours, but I'll be coming for you tomorrow."
I love this part. This is Oswald Cobblepot. You know, the point that he makes is that, yeah, you know what? I was the arms dealer, but I didn't give Joker, I didn't give Riddler or Two-Face enough firepower to put you down. You actually were just another one of the pieces and players in this game that I'm playing you. And I love that.
I feel like that is a weak manipulation. Oh, really? I'm going to supply the worst of the worst, but I'm never going to give them more than you can handle, Batman. I'm like, man, how is he just accepting this? And like, all right, fine. I'll let you go.
He's understanding that your goal is to take out someone that...
They both want to bring down the same guy. I get that.
Yes.
Yeah.
The enemy of my enemy is my friend.
Right.
And he's like, you know what? I'm not willing to go, kill this guy. But for Batman, it's kind of a win-win because he's like, you know what? You take him out, bam, we got rid of Umbrella Man. You get yourself killed, bam, I don't have to worry about you.
Right. So, and if you don't, I know how to deal with your ass.
So, it looks like Cobblepot's feeding him this line that says, you know what? You're just a cog in the wheel, and I've played you. But at the same time, you can see in that one panel where Batman just stares at him. And, that's the stare where you're like,
yep.
He's thinking, and he's just like, okay, get yourself killed or kill this guy. Either way, it's a win for me.
One less person to worry about.
But tonight, go do it. But tomorrow, I'm coming.
I got mixed feelings on it.
Batman has faith that Cobblepot's going to do this because underneath the surface of that short little fat dude, this guy has got a fire.
He can get it done. Yeah.
Yeah. But I loved the way that Cobblepot kind of put it back on Batman to make him at least pause enough to say, you know what? Okay, you've got that fire back in you. Because before you were just beaten, broken down, you'd lost the plot. Right. But now I see that you've got it back in you. Okay.
Yeah.
Go do it.
Do you guys know this writer, John Ridley, from anything else?
No, I've never read it.
Okay. Just curious.
I was trying to think of something without Googling, and I'm like,
yeah.
Still no.
So speaking of ego, Oz calls Umbrella Man basically like, I'm coming to kill you. He just gives him the heads up, point blank. I'm telling you, this is my plan. Lily is worried about giving him that heads up, but Oz assures her that Umbrella Man is far too comfortable in his position and won't know how to handle this fear. When they walk up to a heavily armed Iceberg Lounge, Frida's snipers take out the goons from afar. Lily and Elliot go after the personal bodyguards, and Oz walks right in to Umbrella Man. In the middle of this grandstanding, he gets bitch slapped, and Umbrella Man beats his face into the ground.
It's almost like that Batman Robin meme, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. The backhand.
That's what I thought about when I read that. I was like, oh my gosh, they did it.
Even when slapping was fashionable.
Now, one thing about this book that I noticed is that DC gave them the green light to show headshots.
It's not Black Label, so no titties, and no cursing,
Just straight up violence.
but we can splatter his brains on the fucking street.
He shot that first dude with his first bullet in the head. And then the snipers headshot all these guys. Like, geez.
I like
DC's
this
getting
move
hardcore.
where they're just like casually walking up to the place. He's got a whole fleet of guards out there with their guns on him. Like, are you fucking kidding? They're just walking up. And then we start to see them heads pop like water balloons. And we're like, oh shit. Overly confident, he stands up and lets his guard down, only for Oz to go full Danny DeVito and lunge for the jugular with a deadly bite. He says, you don't know what it takes to survive. I am an animal.
Yum, 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 yum.
This came out in what, 2022?
Yeah.
I've seen some reviews and some conversation about this book where, what's that one online website? CBR Resources or...
The Bat Force Radio.
No, those guys are too well educated. But this one reviewer literally said, this revealed Oswald Cobblepot's cybernetic eye. Like he's like some kind of cyborg. This red eye means that he's like a cyborg. Now, I was like, what the hell?
What are you talking about?
What are you talking about? It's just, he just got beat up.
He blacked out the whites in his eye and gave him a red iris, but that doesn't mean he's a fucking robot. To me, it's
Exactly.
just it's creative license on bloodying up his face.
You know what? To me, it was almost like, you guys watch that Peaky Blinders?
So good.
You know the song, the title song by Nick Cave, Red Right Hand? Basically, it's a metaphor for like divine vengeance. To me, this was almost like, this is his divine vengeance. He's got the red right eye.
Well, and also, we see him with the monocle on that side through the whole rest of it.
Mhm.
So it's entirely possible that he just has a fucked up eye anyway, and this
Well-
is the first time we're seeing it.
No, because if you go back to the where he slaps him, you can see his right eye, and it's
it
white.
comes off.
Yeah, the monocle comes off,
Well, I'll shut the fuck up then.
and then the dude beats him up, and then
Oh, yeah, I see it.
cybernetic
God,
eye.
that fucking whap, 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 whap. It's like 12 panels of him just beating the fuck out of him.
You can almost hear it, right?
Yeah. So the epilogue, it's 5 months later. Lily and Oz are dressed up at the iceberg. How do I look? He asks. Like $2.2 trillion, she says. As he gets ready to open the doors and greet his adoring patrons, Batman slips in. He says, I gave you one night, then it was supposed to be business as usual. Oz replies, I have something that I never had before. Friends. It's never going back to business as usual. And that's the end.
I read that and I was like, I thought Batman was coming after him the next night. Why is it 5 months later?
Yeah, I know.
Like, dude, where you been? What the-
Well, and the fact that he brought it up and it's like, well, yeah, you said you were coming back the next day. I don't know, man.
So, in the beginning of the story, Umbrella Man, horrible name.
I hate it so much.
You guys might laugh at this. I was thinking to myself, like, oh, is this how Diddy is going to come back? Remember when Diddy had, what's his name, who held the umbrella?
Yeah.
So every time I watch the page, I'm like, okay, that's Little Kim, and that's so-and-so. I was going through the whole Bad Boy family as I'm going through the book.
All right. So what do we have for pros here? Not a lot to this story. This is a short episode.
Well, I like that the art matches the tone. Like I said, they do some killing in this story. I mean,
Yeah.
it is. I like the fact that Penguin, I like as kind of the underdog villain in the Batman mythos because he's limited with what he can kind of do physically. He can't take Batman on physically, although he can take on Umbrella Man. But, you know, he's just like the OG gangster.
He's got one move. He just bites your neck.
Yeah, with this cybernetic eye. But, he is kind of like a kingpin of crime, and he runs the underworld and the mafia and all that stuff. And when they do some killing, I'm glad to see that they didn't just sugarcoat it and do the killing off screen. I hate that. The implied assassination. I want to see it.
Yeah, I guess when it comes to like the Penguin, like it feels like a Penguin story. You have the killing, you have your gangs and everything going on, and it's a one shot, so it's quick.
Yeah.
But it feels like the Penguin story. There's a lot going on. There's a lot of violence, some storytelling, some character building. So
I feel like it's kind of the most linear story. I'm struggling to remember Two-Face because that one didn't really resonate with me so much, but this seems like we say on the first page what we're going to do and we follow it to its conclusion, you know?
Right. Like you said, it's a very start at point A and we get to the very end pretty quick. The pace is pretty quick in this.
Yeah.
We only really have like one or two little flashback inserts with him talking about his 7th birthday.
I know we're in prose right now, but just to piggyback on that, if we got a little more of that Tom King Riddler development, like, okay, we have the 7th birthday thing, but if maybe we saw a couple of those other moments as he's growing up in his life that sort of developed him into this person, because we know, the audience knows that the Penguin is cunning and ruthless and all these things. Like, we've established that, but to back that up a little bit more, in the same way that they did, that he's this loner guy. And as Dave mentioned, like, you can see him putting together, oh, well, if I just have money, then I can put together any team that I want or whatever. I would like to see a little more of that kind of development.
We also have the greatest splash page introduction of a character ever, the part where he tells the bloody stripper to just grind.
That's so nasty.
Get up there and you dance happy. It's go, go, not cry, cry.
So for my prose, I really do like the underdog story that shows like his confidence, again, betting everything on the last bullet, everything on the last dollar. It's not just a gesture for the person that he's interacting with, but it shows that he's just trusting his instinct. People have done the like, what if we take away all Batman's money? But this is almost more interesting because this is a guy who's built on clout and status.
And ego. And that's taken away from him.
And if you take those things away, can he still be as effective? I think this is a great demonstration of why he is who he is, It reminds me of the best parts of his character on Gotham with Robin Lord Taylor playing him.
And he even puts together a team of underdogs in a way until he gets Frida's gang.
And now, like you said, he has friends. Like now, before it was just, everyone was just like an acquaintance. You do what I tell you to do because I'm paying you. But now it's like, no, I have friends now.
That scene with Frida's people sniping and stuff, it's almost like Sin City. Like you can level the odds with a careful choice of where to fight. And, they got the girls up top and nobody sees it,
Mm-hmm.
Now for cons, I have to start, we're all thinking it, Umbrella Man. Jesus Christ. We need at least a better fucking name for this guy. My God.
Does he have a real name or there was just Umbrella Man the entire time?
That's all we heard, I think.
And this is like the only story he's in. This is one shot for him too.
Lily and as far as I know, Frida, I think they were all characters created for this.
Right.
It would have been funny if his name was actually Timmy Quinn. And it was like, wait a minute, how do you guys know each other?
Oh, that would be the twist.
Yeah.
That would be good.
I thought that was a reference to like Harley's brother or something. Because I know that she's had a sibling in certain incarnations.
That would have been a funny twist at the end, though.
Yeah, there's not really a lot of... You don't really feel the emotional stakes. With the whole pounding into the fucking floor and then the biting, like that shit's really intense, right? But
That was 2 pages.
I know. I wish there was something, again, like that sort of backstory character development that we got with the Riddler. I wish we had a little more of that here, because basically they just took Oswald's story from Gotham and reversed the roles. Because Robin Lord Taylor was the fucking umbrella kid for Fish Mooney, and then he winds up taking over everything. And so they kind of were just like, well, what if it was the reverse of that? And then literally just called him Umbrella Man. I'm like, oh, God, dude.
And I could be wrong, but this story reminded me a little bit in Detective Comics during the New 52. Wasn't there a character called Emperor Penguin that basically tried to take out the Penguin? And he was like, I'm going to be better than the Penguin. I'm the Emperor Penguin. That's what I thought that they were alluding to before we see the big reveal of the Grind Man. I would have preferred them call him Grind Man. But
yeah,
my thing with the con was just some of the unrealistic events, like especially like you said, the one guy shoots 3 clips at these guys and they don't respond by blowing their heads off at the bank. I was like, there's no way that would ever happen.
With everyone armed. Everyone had a gun. They were aiming at him.
And then, like you said, you pointed out where Cobblepot and Lily go to the warehouse and they don't walk out with anything other than Homeboy.
Which also, like, the fact that they get that dude who was coming there to visit his uncle who they just pulverized and left on the ground passed out. And he's like, oh, so there's no job? I guess I'll come with you.
Yeah.
Like, we just beat your family in front of you.
Now you work for us.
I know what they're trying to do in this story. They're trying to show a different side of Cobblepot that's more manipulative and that he's smarter than everybody. And to get back in the game, he's got to use his experience and cunning to level the playing field to get that opportunity at Umbrella Man. But just some of the things that he says doesn't feel like Oswald Cobblepot. I mean, you can put him down on his luck, but he still should talk and act the way that he once was and always is. You can't change someone's personality just because they're down on their luck. And then the whole hug thing, I was just like, okay, that's a reach. That's a stretch. I mean, the Oswald Cobblepot that I know from all the books that I read, and maybe it's also influenced by the Arkham games, he'd probably hug the girl and then reach her and grab her ass. But, because he's just kind of a twisted guy, right?
I mean, I remember when I stayed with you, we went to Fan Expo Dallas, you did that to me. It was like, oh, hey, good to finally meet you. And I was like, what the? He's got his hand in my back pocket right now. What the fuck?
But, I mean, just some of the
my French flipper trick.
Some of the conversations that he has, I'm like, this doesn't feel like Cobblepot to me.
Yeah. Dunk, you got any other cons?
Not really. The hug thing.
The side characters, too. I don't care. They didn't make me care about these side characters in his gang in the same way that I don't care about Umbrella Man. I think Frida is really the only one because you see what she goes through. But that whole sequence is so immediate that I would almost rather we cut the other 2 side characters altogether.
Yeah.
Do more backstory and then meet up with Frida, and we see that, like, she turns him down. Okay, he's down on his luck again. Maybe more introspective, but he's alone. And then goes back and teams up with what's left of her gang. Like, to me, that's all you need.
Yeah, I'm going to agree with you on that exactly. The other 2 characters, really didn't care much about them. They were funny in certain parts.
And like funny for a sec, kinda. Yeah. It's like one of those jokes that they put in The Flash or Justice League where like first time you see it, you're like, and then you watch it again and you're just like,
yeah, I could do without.
This whole series is called One Bad Day, right?
Right.
I'm sensing a theme in the 3 stories we've read where it's almost like bad parenting makes these people super villains. It's almost like how in Marvel everyone gets their powers by radioactivity. It's the same thing. And it's just like, okay, bad parenting creates these supervillains. And I'm like, so this one event where you found out that your rich mom, because the Cobblepots were one of Gotham's elite wealthy families, your mom paid your classmates to come to your party and fake be your friends. That's the moment that sets you off down the road to being a supervillain. I would have thought that they would have made a point where it'd be like, what would set off someone who's been raised under a wealthy family his entire life. Yeah, he's had his physical shortcomings, but to me, it'd be like, no, how about the day that your parents disown you and cut you off?
Right.
And he has to find a way to get some muscle to kill his parents, basically, and take over their money.
Well, it's kind of like Tommy Elliott.
Yeah.
Tommy Elliott's whole thing was like, you were going to get this inheritance and didn't get it for a few years, but still grew up rich anyway. What?
Right.
You know, like that doesn't, it doesn't lead there.
I don't like that Hush origin story either. That was the one part in that story that I was like, whatever. But this was like, okay, you could have done better with what events set him off.
Yeah.
His 8th birthday.
His 8th birthday. He didn't get a Red Ryder BB gun.
Just go long Halloween style through each one of his birthdays.
Yeah, every
issue.
I would have been like, show it where he was disinherited by his father or mother, and he had to prove to himself, you know what? No, I'm going to take what's mine and make that decision. That would have been the one bad day.
Let's segue into our ratings. I think they're going to be real high for this one.
Off the charts.
Dunk, what do you got?
Oh, man. I'm always debating my score as we discuss it. Sometimes you guys bring up some really good points.
I've actually lowered mine as we've talked about it. I changed
Really?
the note. I changed it.
Going through it, I enjoy the art. It's hard to get it right with just one issue.
Mm-hmm.
I think overall, I'm going to just go straight to the middle, 2.5 out of 5.
Yeah. Gramps, what are you thinking?
Well, as I've told you, my rating system now will be based on Polanski's.
Right, which Ben was saying, does that mean good or bad? Is it an inverse? No.
Well, Ben was always the voice of reason, I felt.
If by that you mean the source of constant negativity.
No, I mean, he kept everything on an even kill, and I loved it. I love listening to the show because I loved listening to
He
you
existed
guys bounce
only
off
to
each
bring
other.
me down.
It's almost like our friend George Costanza, where everything's the opposite. The higher the rating, the worse the title. So.
I'm going to say we could still call them Polanski's, but it's got to follow the order of weight or it's not going to make any sense.
Well, I
You know
don't
what
want
I'm
to
saying?
disrespect Polanski.
I do, because that's what we did. That's what we did every episode. That's why we had so much fun, because he had said to me, like off air, like, I feel like I can say things to you I would never say to any human being because it will only make you laugh. But like, I could never say these things to someone else. They're so mean. I'm like, oh, no, it's great. I love it.
All right. I'm going to give this a 1 Polanski then.
Yeah.
Whoa. Okay.
Yeah. I hate to be the source of negativity, but in just a realistic...
After you just said you're embracing it, but
No, I mean, there are some positive things. Like I said, I really like some of the art. Some of these panels are really sick, especially the part where he's ripping his throat out. I mean, that is just...
That's what gets you going?
That's just straight up horror.
There's horrors and horror.
Yeah.
Grind.
The page where Umbrella Man is beating him. I mean, that is just straight up horror. The panel where Penguin's got his big red eye, that's just straight up horror. But there's just too many gaps in the plot holes and the making me feel for these characters and believe in this mission, starting off with a $20 gun with 1 bullet and walking into a bank with 3 bullets and them handing you $250,000 because dude goes crazy. And then the whole, that was your one bad day. I don't get it.
Yeah.
Sounds like a good day.
Yeah, that sounds like a great day.
$20
you got
to $250,000.
Yeah, it's
in
got a happy
yeah,
ending.
that sounds like a great day. Plus,
There's a happy ending at the end.
Plus, your mom makes these kids bend the knee and sing happy birthday to you. That'd be awesome, dude. But also, there's another theme that goes on with some of these. Well, actually, every one of these one bad days is, you know what? Don't be a bully to people because they will turn around and kill you.
Yeah, that's when people took the wrong lesson from the Todd Phillips Joker movie.
Right.
Like you get what you fucking deserve, and that whole thing is like, I know some of you watched that and then we're like, oh yeah, we're on his side now. I'm like, that's maybe not quite the commentary the film is making, but anyway.
Right, exactly. So that's my rating.
I will...
Love you, Ben.
I will agree with Dunk, I think, because I had originally rated it slightly higher. Not high, but slightly higher. But I'm feeling a 2.5 because I think the art is very good throughout. I think the idea of putting this character in this situation has a lot of potential, but in the ways that we discussed, it does not live up to that potential.
That's all, folks.
I hope Ben doesn't hate me.
He probably does hate you, but that's okay, because I hate him back. It's mutual. Don't feel singled out. He's just a bad person. Okay, if you guys like the show, please support us in the following ways that cost you nothing. Please repost on Instagram. Share us at BatFanAddict. Give us the 5-star rating on your podcast app. Like us on YouTube. You know, drop a comment. Drop the little one-sentence review, something you like about the show on your podcast app. Make it funny, you know. Just those little things help us out a lot. And if you don't, get ready to see the origin story of this supervillain, because that's right, I'm coming for you. Just like Batman said on the beginning. And if you don't, I'm coming for you. We will return with Superman 2, the Donner Cut. Stay tuned.